If you're enjoying Pigoted Podcast, why not sign up to our Patreon? You can get access to loads of extra stuff. You get access to extra episodes every single week. You get access to giveaways that we do. We've done giveaways on rum, giveaways on NFTs, loads of sponsorship stuff. You get access to the Discord community. You get early access on episodes that are being released. You get to ask questions to our guests. There's loads of extra stuff that you get, and it starts from just £1 a week, £4 a month. Think about it this way. Would you miss an episode of Pigoted if we didn't release one? Yeah? Well, would you miss £1 if it went out of your bank account? No? Well then, get yourself signed up to our Patreon, because by supporting the podcast, you're helping to make it possible. You're helping to pay for all of the recording space and all of the equipment. So please, if you do enjoy the podcast, check out the Patreon. You get loads of extra benefits, and a big thank you from me. Enjoy the podcast. This week's podcast is brought to you by Window World. Window World are the home of rock bottom prices on all of your UPVC windows, doors and conservatories. Right now they're doing a very special deal where you can get 8 windows and 2 doors for only £2,495. So if you're thinking about getting new windows or doors, if you want to upgrade yourself for 2022, then get yourself down to windowworldupvc.co.uk or give them a call on 0151 531 0056. That's Window World, the home of great quality windows and doors. Welcome to Pigoted Podcast. Joining us today is a couple of old faves from way back when. It's Kat Ford and Jamie Benjamin. Hi, guys.
Hello.
You might remember, I was going to say, you might remember these two from Animal Genitals. You know, just leave it there like it was a normal thing.
That is normal in my world.
You have no idea how many amazing conversation starters I've been able to garner out of that one episode.
Good.
Yeah.
I think you underestimate how often I talk about duck sex. That is one of my favorite topics.
And whenever you say it, in my head, I do the theme to DuckTales. Woo. Like, duck sex. Woo! Yeah.
Have we talked about pig sex yet?
No, we haven't talked about pig sex. Right, another...
Sorry.
Less than a minute in, and already she's like, there's other animals that fuck weird.
Look, we all have our niche interests, okay?
Do you know what? I saw a thing. It was like, you know, like an article that gets sorted on Facebook or whatever. And like Facebook's, you know, they recommend articles. They're like, you'd like to read this. And no, I wouldn't. It was a video of a chimp in Chester Zoo that had caught a pigeon and caught it mid-air and just eviscerated it. No,
smashed it to fuck.
Smashed it to fuck. He was like, oh, hello, fly bird. Let's see what happens when I smash you again. And all these onlookers are like, like onlookers terrified as chimp smashes bird to pieces. And there's like video and they're like, oh my God. And it's like...
They didn't do that in the PG Tips adverts.
Someone needs a brew, bloody hell. I get like that in the morning before I've had my first cup. Jesus wept. But the thing is it was like outlookers, outraged and all this stuff. And Chester Zoo had to make a statement where they were like, we are so sorry that one of our chimps
has behaved in a very chimpy way.
Yeah. And honestly, it's one of those things where I know I shouldn't get sucked in, but I wanted to reach out into the article and find the people and shake them and go, you came to see animals and you're angry that they're not behaving in the way that... it drove me insane. It drove me absolutely insane.
People are really, just as a general rule, people are weird. Like, my parents, when they were in South Korea and they went to like this big, huge fish market, and like there's lots of live fish there, and you choose your fish, it gets killed, and then you take it home. And when they got back onto the cruise, a load of other people that had gone to the fish market were like, can you believe how cruel they are? They kill the fish while they're still alive. Like,
yeah, that's generally what happens.
How else do you fucking kill it? just the weird fucking disconnect of like, that living creature that you eat. Yes, somebody at some point has killed it.
The only other option is to run a restaurant that only serves fish that have died of natural causes.
Not on that.
What you do is they go, can I get the crab, please? No, he's looking really well at the moment. Having said that, the lobster has been looking a bit dodgy recently. I saw him yesterday just looking a bit lifeless. That might be good to go in about 6 hours. If you want to stay around, there's a family like, oh yeah, he does look a bit lifeless, doesn't he? It's not what you want from your food, is it?
No, I want my food to have died in the prime of life. I want their peak potential to have been completely snuffed out. I think it makes the flesh more tender.
I only eat cows that have got degrees.
I feel extra uncomfortable about the fact that you brought me here, which underneath it's a storage locker, which I think it is the prelude to a murder.
Yeah, it's full of bovine from Red Brick Universities just led up.
Well, I'm just thinking, I am a cow with a degree. Please don't eat me.
Yeah. I mean,
terrible way to discuss yourself. Shame on you.
I mean, if it makes you feel any better, I can pretend that you've got a degree in media management, and that'll just put me right off. I'll just be like, no. But speaking of media management, you see what I did there?
Oh, seamless segue.
Didn't even. I mean, nobody would have even seen it. It was that well stitched into the fabric of the conversation. That was Primark level stitching. That was. You see it right down the middle. The news at the moment is all about war, and I guess the good news behind that is that COVID fucked off quite quick, didn't it?
Oh yeah, COVID's over.
Yeah,
COVID fucked off within 4 days.
So apparently, the cure to COVID all along was potential nuclear war. Who fucking knew?
It was 2 years of no, seriously, guys, we need to get 2 jabs and a booster and all wear a mask and all be socially seriously. And then Putin was like, I think I might invade Ukraine, and we're like, yeah, don't. This is the real thing. Like, it wasn't even like they had the decency to put 2 articles on the front page, or at least vary it up a little bit. They were just like, nah, fuck that. This is going to sell the papers now. Putin.
Yeah.
And it's a scary time. Now
I tell you what, it's a bad time to try and be on a diet. I mean, like, between COVID and a potential nuclear war, I tell you what, existential dread is nature's catch-up. Because it's like, we could all be dead in a week. Give me the fucking cake. Like,
that's
do I want to do
funny.
deadlifts? No. I want to eat pizza and wank. Like, we're fucked.
We had an episode last week about what can be done about the whole, Russia-Ukraine thing. However, we had it with a comedian called Jamie Hutchinson, who is just basically he's almost like this hive of the most ridiculous stories that you've ever heard in your entire life. He's led the silliest life ever. And we talked about it for maybe 2 minutes. And the rest of the time, we managed to talk about his childhood. And he used to make up games, one of which was he used to race playing cards. So he used to, I look like you. He used to get a pack of playing cards, just throw them all out on the floor, and then just randomly push in directions. And he'd get his dad to bet on which one had hit the wall first. Yes.
All right.
So we didn't do much. We did more of me going, how are you not in therapy? That was...
That's a very wholesome way to spend time with your dad, really. That doesn't sound a million miles away from halfpenny shove, though. Like, which is...
Halfpenny shove?
Halfpenny shove. Like, you get a penny.
Yeah.
And you just shove it across the table. And see how far across the table you can get it. That is the game. It is surprisingly fun.
I love how it's...
Wait, but there is a game like shuffleboard, right? Where you just push pucks across the table or across the floor.
Yeah, but this one sounds like it was made by like Victorian street children, doesn't it? Like, halfpenny shove.
Victorian street children didn't have halfpennies.
Yeah, they just had
They had
shove.
fingernails. Fingernail shove.
Because of the way fingernails are shaped, it just... Your go. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do more of a dive into the psychology behind what's going on, specifically this fascination that the West, I think, seems to, I think it's fair to say the West has with Zelenskyy. I said that right, didn't I?
I have no idea.
I think so.
Do you know what? We were talking on another. I was talking on another podcast, Dead Men Talking, about how funny it is that, like, so we had a thing that got shared on the internet, and a few people saw it, and it was one of those guys. Just to let you know how problematic it is to spell Kiev, Kiev, how bad that is. It's Kyiv. You have no idea how disrespectful and how horrible and how hurtful and how triggering it is to the Ukrainian people. And it was like, yeah, but I reckon they're busy at the moment as well. Like I reckon they've got other things.
Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? Because, like, from some angles, it's like, well, that's kind of insult on top of injury, right? So, like, they're in this situation and then everyone's, like, spelling Kiev in, like, the Russian way.
Yeah.
But I totally get your point of, like, if I'm getting stabbed in the head, like, I'm not going to be worried about whether people are spelling my name correctly.
Yeah.
Like, it's,
I don't know. I think that the language we use does really matter, though. I mean, if you change a newspaper, there was a study that was done about African Americans versus blacks, and you change what you call them, and then suddenly people are reading that paper really differently.
So I imagine that when they hear African American, they see the American bit and go, it's like us.
Yeah.
Whereas when they see the blacks bit, they go, well, I'm not black, and so therefore this is not my...
Yeah, and suddenly, like, there's this whole, like, more negative view of whoever's being portrayed in the story of, you know, that they probably are more guilty of crimes, they're probably more likely to be drains on society. There's, like, a whole lot of negative connotations with the language that you use. And you can also argue that it's kind of genocidal, that if you're taking Ukrainian culture but using Russian terminology, it is a form of genocide in the erasure of a people and a culture. Sorry.
Well, that's shit on me, isn't it? Fucking hell.
I got dark and serious.
yeah, that's you fucking told Hitler.
It is.
So there.
But, right, okay, two things that I want to bring up. The first thing is, I just think it's funny in a roundabout way that clearly all the news reporters have had a meeting where they've been told how to pronounce Kiev. Yeah. So it, you know, 3 weeks ago it was Kiev and that's the end of it. But now you get people with, like, received pronunciation accents going, breaking news, fighting has been out all evening in the central regions of Kiev. Like that. They really make it Kiev. It's a sort of way of doing it. It just makes me laugh that they break their accent for a second. The fighting in Kiev has been expected to last all evening, and shells and artillery are being bombarded, and at the moment we are going to go live to our respondent who is in Kiev. Like that. It just for some reason makes me go, like, and I don't know why. I think it's just 'cause I'm a child. And I just think it's funny watching people just flip out of an accent for a word and then come back into it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a much more serious version of, like, I don't know how to say to people, I want to go to Pret-a-Manger. Like, how the fuck am I supposed to pronounce that? Because I don't have a French accent.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna suddenly put on an accent so that it's correct. But also, I want to go to Pret-a-Manger. Sounds weird.
Yeah, I get the same thing with Patisserie Valerie as well.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to go, should we go to Patisserie Valerie? Do you know what I mean? You feel like, especially with a northern accent, you feel like you need to be like...
It's like, shall I just lean into my natural accent here?
Yeah. It's almost like you feel like you need to go, well, I know what the French sound like, so I'm gonna do that.
I think I kind of want to slightly circle back to the points that Jamie was making, because, like,
I was making a point.
Yeah, the sort of, like, the like spelling Kiev, like Kiev. Sure. I don't Kiev.
Kiev.
In the Ukrainian way, or, like, spelling it in the Russian way is kind of like it's a cultural part of the genocide. I think it's a really good point, and I think it's something that a lot of people like us tend to miss with these kind of conversations, is that I'm British. Like, I've never I'm part of the colonizers. I've got no concept of what it's like to like have my culture threatened, or like to have my identity threatened, to have like the threat of being killed, like because of who I am. Like
also as well, when I hear an American pronounce Worcestershire, it makes me want to fucking shoot the whole country. Worcestershire! And it's like, go fuck yourself, it's Worcestershire.
No,
Kiev.
But like, I think it's possibly why like we'll sit here and say things like, well, if somebody's trying to murder me, I'm not going to care about how they spell my name. It's like, well,
because we've never been tried to be murdered. So
yeah,
it's like,
no one's tried to murder me. I've never felt that level of oppression.
so you can't say how you'd react, can you?
Yeah. So it probably psychologically is a lot more impactful than I can possibly empathize with, because it's just so outside of my range of experience.
if you know you're going to die, then one thing that might make it a little bit more palatable is knowing that you're dying for change, or for, to preserve your culture and identity. And then some fucking bloke comes along. I think it's a bit silly when we go, Kiev, fuck it. And you're like, all my family has been slow. Yeah, but it's just a bit weird, isn't it? Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. I'll tell you another thing as well that I think is interesting is there's been a lot of whataboutery. And so people go, well, okay. I think you'll find that there is a war in Yemen and nobody's bothered about that. And I feel like going, well, that's because I don't know where it is.
There's two sides to that. So there are people that are doing what is undoubtedly whataboutery. And like whenever anyone says anything about Ukraine, it's like, well, I think you'll find. Or like calling individuals hypocrites. Like being like, oh, like I have never seen you post anything about Yemen, but now you're talking about Ukraine. How dare you as an individual? Yeah. Like that's unhelpful. I think there is an important conversation around like, okay, why has like Yemen got so little media traction in our culture?
I mean, we could kind of explain that, because I mean, if we talk about like the refugee crisis, what comes to mind?
Can I tell you what I think the answer is, and what I think everyone else thinks the answer is? So I think people are very quick to go, well, it's a race thing. But I actually genuinely think it's a location thing. I think that people just care more about things that are closer to them.
I think it's both of those things, and the other thing of like, so the war in Yemen started as a rebellion, and it's a civil war that loads of people have jumped in on.
Okay.
And so like the politics of it it's a clusterfuck. I've got no idea what's going on there. And so it's really hard to like simplify the situation and go, okay, well, they're the baddies and they're the goodies. The situation in Ukraine, fucking cut and dry here, mate. Like one country has, without provocation, turned up in another country and started fucking killing people. There's no sort of like, oh, well, like these people just wanted a revolution and these people wanted to like maintain their position in government, and because we're a bunch of fuckheads, it got bangy. It's like, there's been a fucking invasion, a blatant fucking invasion.
I totally get on board with that, because I think that people are more willing to understand something that seems easier to understand.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody wants to sit and learn about Yemeni politics for 3 months in order to know exactly which profile picture to change to their fucking flag or whatever. Do you know what And also as well, if something sort of like organically evolves over many months and months and months, then when it finally tips over the edge, it's a bit, oh yeah, that's happened. Do you know what I mean? Whereas when something goes from no invasion to full-out war within a week, then that's a narrative that people go, oh, it's more fast-moving.
It wasn't even the space of a week. I mean, this, like, as sudden things go, this was fucking sudden.
At least from our perspective.
Yes and no. So the night before Russia invaded, Zelenskyy reassured the nation, saying, like, you'll sleep safe in your beds, don't worry about it. Next thing, kaboom. Like, right up till it happening, everyone was like, no, it's not. It's not going to happen. And then it fucking did.
Do you know what I think is really interesting is the way that these two characters are being portrayed out? Because I find it so fascinating. It's they do the same things in war. It's almost like they treat it like it's a reality TV show or something like that, in that they have these they turn leaders into one-dimensional characters that are, and so right now it's this Zelenskyy is this brave, plucky underdog that is,
And a hunksicle.
and a hunksicle.
Yeah.
Now, I've never heard of the term hunksicle before. But I'm going to what?
You're telling me that you've never heard the word hunksicle. Funny that.
Well, it's whenever I've heard it, I've just always assumed that it was about me, and so I thought never bothered to sort of follow it up.
Oh, so basically you assumed it meant Northern Yeti, man.
Northern Yeti, man. I love how you've translated it like it was Latin. Northern Yeti, man. So yeah, he's a hunksicle is an attractive icicle. Okay. Or popsicle.
Popsicle.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Oh, I'd fucking lick him. It's so uncomfortable.
So, but so here's the thing: is has war made him attractive? Is that?
I suspect he was already attractive. The circumstances, because he's been so charismatic, he's been so brave, so cool under pressure.
Yeah.
And like staying in place when he was offered a way out, and not even saying no in an offhand way, saying it in the fucking coolest way possible.
Yeah. I
Like-
don't need a ride. I need ammunition.
Yeah.
The fight is here.
Like,
Whoa.
holy shit. It's so difficult because, like, it's incredibly inappropriate.
Yeah.
Because, like, people, like, this is terrifying for many reasons. Like, people are losing their lives. This historic country is getting torn to shit. It's awful. And then Zelenskyy comes on the TV and you're like, whoa.
Is it?
But like, it's really, I'm watching the TV and I'm like, I don't know whether to wank or cry. It's like
Both
like,
at the same time.
Well, I mean, that's my standard Saturday. But like my brain is like trying to process this like huge thing. This is, I hope, the biggest historical event we're going to witness, but we fucking said that about COVID and we fucking said that about 9/11. Like this is going to be the biggest thing of it. Like, look out. And so I'm like trying to process all this while my fucking fanny's going, whoa, let me touch him. Let me touch him.
Well,
Just
but
like,
that's the
shut up, you dumb cunt.
Literally.
Because what's going on partly is that you've got a high level of mortality salience.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
mortality salience, right?
Right, of course I know what mortality salience
Obviously,
is.
it is well regarded. It's the awareness, the salience, how present is death or your own mortality.
Whoa. So are you telling me that in a way, the closer a woman is to death, the more
People full stop. And
People
no.
everywhere.
This is no. I'm not even sure I want to make the joke. No, it's not a good dating tactic.
Actually, no. Hold on. I've got studies.
It's immoral. Desperately immoral.
Taking a girl to a scary film.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, cool.
So taking a girl to a scary film is a way of
So
you have to be fucking shitting me that this is a thing.
that is totally a thing. It's totally a thing.
I think it's...
Do you know what?
Probably-
If I'd have known about this in my dating life, I would have turned up to so many dates in like a bloodstained t-shirt.
That's different. That's very
That's
different.
what we're trying to discourage.
With a meat
We don't want
cleaver.
that.
That's the bit that's not funny.
Yeah. No, because then going back to Zelenskyy, right? If you are afraid of some big baddie out there, some psychopath murderer with a hockey mask and a knife coming at you, having this big, strong guy saying, I've got you, babe.
Psychologically big, strong.
Oh, okay.
Physically, he's
So-
like 5'6".
I'm short.
What?
Oh, so he's big compared to you.
What?
Yeah.
So Zelensky's
I
5'6".
think so. He's not very tall.
He looks, in my head, he was 6'4".
Oh, he's 8 foot in my head. like he's...
Well, no, because
wonder
again,
if-
there's okay, so another thing about leaders, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of research that we associate. We have this mental correlation of height and leadership.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he might be 5'6" in real life, which again, to me, that's standard height.
Yeah.
That's a fucking giant compared to you.
Yeah. Coming as like a little Jewish woman. 5'6" men. He's Jewish. I'm Jewish. Like, yeah, that makes more sense to me. But we
I love how even in the chat you try to rationalise it. We're both Jewish.
Well, no, what I heard there is like, no, he might not be tall, but he's Jewish tall.
Yeah, he's Jewish tall.
How tall do you think my dad is?
Do you know what? I've never thought about it. I would have assumed that he was touching 6 foot, but
Oh no! No!
but that you are
I am
you are
tiny.
really tiny.
Napoleon is taller than my dad.
Napoleon wasn't that short.
I know.
What?
He was 5'6.5".
I thought he was.
Was he?
5'8".
Because when you so when you said before, like, we associate leaders with being tall and that,
Mm-hmm.
my immediate thing was, well, Napoleon was a short ass, and now he wasn't.
No, because that's propaganda.
He was average. It was propaganda. Yeah,
It was propaganda because people would refer to him as mon petit general, which
My little general.
My little general.
Look
But
at me.
actually, like a term of endearment is also mon petit chou, which is my little cabbage.
Yeah.
It's cauliflower.
Imagine you wouldn't want that as a leader, would you? You wouldn't want to be
No, but
branded my
it's-
little cabbage.
No,
Do you know
but
what I mean?
it's a term of endearment of my. It's not my little general. It's my
My
dear
dear.
general.
My love, my
Oh, I
precious.
see.
But once it gets translated into English, they go, "This guy." We're calling him the little general. But it was
see.
English propaganda. Same thing like the carrots will improve your eyesight.
Wait.
Yeah.
Fuck
sorry.
off.
Yeah, no, that's
no,
not a thing.
I mean, it's.
Apparently mushrooms, though, can help with eyesight. Carrots, no.
Oh, this
Again,
fucking-
propaganda.
this
Vegetable propaganda. You've been had, mate.
Podcast, I swear to fucking God. Every time
Yeah.
that I think I know a thing, people come on and go, that's not
Actually-
true. I fucking hate carrots as well. But as a kid, I really liked the idea of being able to see in the dark. And honestly, I convinced myself in my room that it was
fell-
working.
you
I
fell for the British
convinced
propaganda
myself.
man.
Do you know what it was as well? Now that I'm looking back at it with fucking science, is I'm in my room and it's dark. I can't see anything. I'm like, right, okay, carrot vision. Meh, like that, and then I feel like I can see things, but that's just because my eyes are adjusting to the dark, isn't
I
it?
thought you were going to say you would literally eat a carrot, and you'd think that the eating a carrot would give you an immediate boost, but it was actually your eyes adjusting, which is a better story than.
Imagine
The next time he tells it.
Imagine if my mum put me to bed and then she just was like, "Oh, I just
Go,
forgot."
Here's your carrot.
A little nighttime treat for you, so you can see the monsters coming out from under the bed.
I swear that I
Can't
got
afford
told.
night lights. Here, have a carrot.
I swear that I got. Do you know what? And I know that the way that Jamie's brain works right now, she's thinking, at what point is the tip over point where carrots become more profitable than nightlights when actually brought. So the average nightlight is about £33. The average carrot is 12 pence. So if we divide those two by the ratio of the blah, 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 and I'm there like, carrots. I'm
Yeah, but
just opposite.
night lights you only have to buy one.
Yeah, that's
Carrots.
true.
That's you've got to keep buying them.
But
You can only eat a carrot once.
nightlights only work in a certain little place, whereas carrot vision
Carrots
you
are
can
much
take
more portable.
wherever you go. Do you know what I mean? Why are we
Carrot
talking
vision.
about this?
I don't know.
Carrot vision. What a shit fucking X-Man that is.
Also, I just want to backtrack ever so slightly that you went, I know the way Jamie's brain works, and you dove into, how can I make money out of this? Shame on you. As soon as I say I'm Jewish, where did your brain
Oh my God. Oh, what have I done?
This is like that episode where was it? Terrorist.
Oh my God, with Ishan.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the worst thing ever. I looked at Asian man, wanted to say terraces and said terrorist about 4 times.
Freddie, I think we need to have a bit of a conversation about your
do.
unconscious biases.
And how they need to stay unconscious and stop coming out as being very conscious.
the IAP.
Opposite.
Oh,
No, you
really?
need to make them conscious and
Okay.
then challenge them.
Oh,
if they're
the
unconscious, you can't do anything about it.
Hypercognition.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, there's this thing called hypercognition that you can't really see something until you know it exists. So we can talk about racism or sexism or any
Okay.
other prejudices. You have to know that they are a thing in order to be aware of them.
The
So
first step is admitting it.
kind of, yeah. So like benevolent sexism is this idea that women are precious, they need to be taken care of, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. A very paternalistic, women are children.
Yeah.
And now that I tell you about this, that thing like, well, let me hold the door open for her, let me carry this for her.
I see.
And now it's like,
I understand what you're
do I
saying.
need to white knight this situation for her?
Sure. Well, I mean, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
And in the spirit of progression, my name is Freddie, and I hate Jews. Cool. So,
Right, we're leaving. We're leaving.
I don't think we're allowed to, guys.
I won't let the white man with the bald head anywhere nearer to you.
Oh God! What have I done? What have I done?
Dear audience members out there, I'd just like to inform you that we are currently in a warehouse in
We're about a 2-minute drive from Preston Station. If these are my last words, please tell my family that I love them.
How has this gone so wrong? I just wanted to enact positive change.
You've already tried to fucking kill me once today. Right, Freddie picked us up from Preston Station. Right, Jamie got in the car, and then I tried to get in the back. I've got the back door open. I've got my right leg in the car, and my left leg's still on the ground. And Freddie just starts fucking driving.
I just wasn't thinking at all.
You were trying to kill. You were thinking. You were plotting.
I'll kill her in the train station with hundreds of witnesses.
In a way that looks like an accident.
In a way that looks like an accident, so I'll only get done for manslaughter.
And if that doesn't work, there's the storage lockers downstairs. I don't know what's in them.
I mean, to be fair, they
I don't
cost
wanna find out.
about 80 quid a month to rent. So
But also, good luck fucking dismembering me. There's a lot of fucking flesh to get through. You better be good with a knife.
fucking hell almighty, where has this gone? Zelenskyy. Right. So.
Fun fact. All of the American presidents throughout history have been taller than average.
Really?
Yeah.
In my head.
Leadership and height, it's a thing. Men in height, it's a thing.
Yeah, men in height, taller men are more likely to get promotions and stuff like that.
Well, I've got a mate, Rob Mulholland, who I do Dead Men Talking podcast with, who's 6'7", right?
We've both met him, haven't we?
Now, he is an ugly man, as far as I'm concerned. And do you know what, Rob, if you're listening to this, you're fucking ugly, and I'll say it to your face. However, he's basically a stretched out 3. So if he was 5'8", he'd be a 3, but because he's 6'7", women go, you know what I mean? He's tall, and he gracefully admits that all of his sexual conquests have been because he's tall.
Fucking hell!
Oh God Almighty! This is. Do you know what? I'm actually recognizing the bias of my language, and I am going to work towards.
Being a better person?
Yeah.
too much.
That sounds like a lot of work.
It just seems like I'll work
Basically,
towards.
he's interested in making sure he doesn't get cancelled.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's the
honest truth.
limit of his self-improvement.
Oh, mate, if I've got this podcast and Dead Men Talking and this is the one that kills me, I'll be fucking amazed. It's like, this was meant to be the intellectual one. No, what I'll do is...
Don't underestimate your power to drag down a topic.
I will work on myself to make sure that I do not use that kind of language when you two can hear it. So, just went with the ledge, you know what I mean? Fucking conquest, eh? Saying it in that voice made it worse, didn't it? So the whole Zelenskyy thing, right? Is it the case then that, in a roundabout way, that over fucking millennia or whatever, women have been sort of trained to find powerful, strong leader type men attractive? Is that
trained
what this is?
The wrong word.
Yeah, that's the
We
exactly.
We were both going, trained is the wrong word.
Okay.
No.
So, there's a big question about how much of it is in our evolved psychology and how much of it is cultural learning. And I think when you're saying trained, I think that's probably what you mean by cultural learning.
Yeah. I meant sort of trained by society, as it were. Well, sort of so over the course of God knows how long, society is sort of. So
my personal understanding, from the sort of training, I guess, that I've had, I would lean on the side of it's not a learnt thing. It's not something that we're trained.
Oh,
it's kind of deeper than that.
It's like an innate sort of thing.
Yeah.
Kind of
well, I guess if you're like a cave woman or whatever, and it's all about survival, then in fact, I guess every species wants to be with what looks like the best, strongest partner to mate.
Because ultimately, within evolution, within the way things work, there are two driving forces. There is the fight to survive. Can I make it through life? And then there's the fight to reproduce. Can I find somebody to have my offspring with? And those two things are working at parallel.
Yeah.
But you can only really reproduce if you're alive. But going back to that mortality salience issue, if you are aware that you might die at any minute, then you might go, oh no, oh no, oh no. Because this is not just a women thing, this is a men's thing as well. So we can see that men will... Ooh, you're thinking. Yeah, go on.
So there is, like, I think it's worth... So it could be that mortality salience increases, like, the desire to reproduce.
Yes.
Like, it might be that.
It's genetic.
It might also be that...
confidence, I guess.
Yeah, which is possible. Yeah. The other possibility is that mortality salience just increases impulsivity generally. And one of the things will be, like, just, like... It makes you focus on, okay, what's good right now in this second? Well, pizza and sex. And, like, you know, as opposed to, like, if you think you've got a long life ahead of you, oh, well, I best eat a salad and look after my health and all
sure,
that.
Absolutely, because that whole future delay discounting thing.
Yeah.
I could have, you know, a massive burger right now that's really bad for my health 10 years from now. Or... I could have a salad, which will be good for me in the future. But if I'm going to die tomorrow, fucking, I'm having the burger now.
Yeah.
And similarly, I could have, you know, sex now, which 9 months from now could be a really bad choice if I make it through. Or 9 months from now could be a really good choice because then I've got an offspring that will continue my genetics throughout, you know, history, assuming that thing makes it.
So
that's kind of K versus R strategy,
so
like short term, long term. How do you think about things? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I've totally sort of missed the whole Zelenskyy as a sex symbol thing. Like,
oh no! Oh,
I think it.
But I could see why it's a thing. Like,
I think it was also relatively short as well. Like that was quite quickly sort of like, holy shit, he's attractive. Like, oh my God, the world.
Yeah.
And I think people are still kind of like obviously aware, but it's become more and more uncomfortable, I guess.
Yeah, because on the background to it, there is like war. So you're like, at the same time, you're like, oh wow, he is actually really attractive, but also lots of people are dying.
That's the
This
thing.
is very
And
sad.
I think like also he's attractive is much more fast information versus like, oh
Yeah.
fuck. Like it's taken longer for like the hugeness and the reality of the situation to set in. Whereas as soon as he was on the telly, it was like, whoa, oh, hello.
But let's not forget,
hello.
he also
Bloody hell. Let you take me to Pret a Manger.
Oh, you can get in my fucking bunker, mate. Oh.
Get in my bunker.
I feel like I'm ruining my own life here.
Yeah, that's an amazing metaphor for a vagina, isn't it? A bunker. Yeah, it's big and spacious and it can survive a nuclear attack. That's what I'm offering to you, Volodymyr.
It might not be nice, but it's safe.
Also, if you like tinned food, my goodness me, there's 3 years supplies in there. That's horrific, absolutely horrific. So, this whole sort of way that it's sort of been portrayed and stuff, so going back to saying like it's almost like a reality show way of portraying war. You've got on the one side this attractive young fucking
funny, smart. Let's not forget though, before he was in politics, he was working as a professional comedian, an actor. He was already quite established within Ukrainian media.
The amount of my mates who've been going, fuck me, he's going to have one hell of an Edinburgh show. Do you know?
Well, I was actually thinking, like, it's really worrying that he used to be a comedian, because, like, as if comedians didn't already have delusions of grandeur, and now one of them's a fucking president. Oh shit. They're all sitting there going, no, I can definitely make it.
Mate.
It's going to work for me too.
Do you know what? I would absolutely fucking despair if a comedian from the UK became a fucking leader during wartime, because the thing is as well is a lot of UK comedy at the moment is self-deprecating, and that's not what you want during a wartime situation. No. Do you know what I mean? You don't want your leader going on TV being like, I get quite anxious sometimes.
Or sort of like, no, there's no point bombing the UK.
Oh,
it's already fucked. I wouldn't bother. That actually could work as a position.
have you been to Grimsby? You'd be wasting a warhead.
You'd be improving things, if anything, mate. Go on, do us a favour. We've been meaning to get get rid of that ring road for years.
Yeovil, you can have it.
No, it's a strategy.
I mean, I wouldn't want to hedge all of my bets on it, but it's just like, imagine if Jack Whitehall was like the leader of the country during wartime. You'd just be like, oh God, we're so fucked.
Well, the only comedian that I'm aware of trying in the UK trying to really genuinely break into politics is Eddie Izzard.
Yes.
So, I mean, if they were in charge, I don't know. Like, how would you negotiate with Eddie Izzard? Like, you'd just be confused as fuck.
So Spanish Inquisition.
Yes, but I have sausages in my pocket. Like, what?
Yeah, you got, we are going to invade the country. Tea and cake or death. What? What?
Do you have a flag? Yes, we have a flag. Of course, we have a flag.
Negotiations have broken down because we talked about trade deals and he talked about the canteen on the Death Star. It was very weird situation.
Again, maybe more comedians in charge is the way to world peace.
Imagine it, because there's got to be a buffet during negotiation talks. Imagine him with a bin on his head going, I will have the penne alla arrabbiata.
I do not need a tray. Why would I need a tray? I can kill you with my thoughts. I do not need a tray.
And no one else is in on it. And he's just having the best fucking time.
Eddie, this is the United Nations Security Council. Not fucking open mic night.
And you need a tray. The food is hot. You will need a tray.
Oh. I see this one is wet. This one is wet. This one is wet.
Oh, my God. Yeah, that would be fucking amazing.
No, do you know what? Maybe this is the revolution. Just put comedians in charge. Like, they can take a lot of shit. Like, their egos actually, like...
you would be saying that when they made the front line diverse as fuck. Like, guys, okay, we all need to chip in right now. Nish Kumar as a fucking president, as a prime minister, would kill me off.
Really?
He'd drive me insane. He'd drive me absolutely insane. Because I think he's really middle class and it drives me nuts. That sort of thing annoys me.
Okay, so, but would you have more of a problem with him than you, say, currently do with Boris Johnson?
That's a different kind of joke.
Yeah. It's one of those where it's like, okay, he would be an improvement on Boris Johnson, but I could say that about most things.
Oh, you could say that about a bottled fart, but like,
there's a couple places in the US where like the mayor is a dog. And they're very happy towns.
Well, they're run by very good boys. So like,
yeah. Must have been a good day in Congress. He's got a waggy tail.
And the hair would be prettier if it was like a golden retriever. Yeah.
But anyway, going back to what we were saying, I think it's interesting though that Zelenskyy, sex symbol, good, funny, clever, smart, every positive adjective around him, and there's nothing bad that anyone nothing at the moment. Whereas what I think is interesting is they've portrayed Vladimir Putin as this sort of deranged megalomaniac, absolute sort of man on the edge who is, he could flip at any moment and he's totally fucking lost it. And in my head, I'm like, I don't think that that's the case. I think he's very cold and calculating, and I think he's somebody that is bides his time incredibly well. Do you know what I mean? I don't think he's impulsive or just sort of. I don't think he's invading Ukraine on a whim. I think he's taken maybe a decade's worth of strategy and found the exact right time for him. But that's not how he's being portrayed.
I think historically you're right that he has always been quite cool and calculating. I think there is some speculation about his general well-being at the moment because I think he's taking very extreme measures to avoid COVID.
Yeah.
So that there's that aspect. Whether me and Jamie were discussing this earlier.
So
it's not.
So there's this ethical rule. It does particularly come out of the US called the Goldwater Rule because there was a presidential race. I can't remember who exactly was running at the time or who won it, but there was a candidate named Goldwater. And a bunch of psychologists came around and started speculating about his mental health and whether he has personality issues and like psychologically analyzing him. And he lost the election. And so now we as psychologists, we can't really comment on people's mental health or whether they have personality disorders or any of those kinds of things unless we have specifically met them. Because when somebody is portrayed, when a public figure is portrayed, like we could talk about, say, Britney Spears when she was 28 years old and the mental health that she was going through. But the fact is none of us were sitting down and talking with her. So we could say about how, oh, she might have this, that, and the other thing. But because we haven't sat down, talked with her, and we are not clinical psychologists either.
Yeah.
We are, nerdy, nosy, booky people.
Yeah.
We don't treat people. We don't help people.
We don't do anything useful.
I guess
That's why we can come on the podcast.
that's why we got free time, because we're not.
But it would be wrong of us.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Because it's not something we know. It's not something we do.
It's interesting what you're saying as well, that especially with the Britney Spears thing, is so she got portrayed in a very certain specific way by the media as being an unhinged woman who's having a breakdown. And so if you're looking at that from the lens of a clinical psychologist, then you go, well, yeah, because look, she shaved her head and she's fucking crying in the street and stuff. But like, you're only being shown what the media wants you to see. Exactly. But I guess that when that's all the information they've got, they're not able to step back and go, well, what are the bits that I'm missing? Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Like, there could have been perfectly reasonable explanations for it. Like, maybe she had a really bad case of lice and then twisted her ankle very badly. Like, it's not,
What a day. What a day. I had lice and then I twisted my ankle.
Also, there's the difference between, transient moods and, mental health issues. Like, if I don't get enough sleep, I definitely, my mood that day
your ability
is
to self-regulate your emotions.
Yeah.
Your fuse. You know, we all have this kind of stress meltdown point.
Yeah.
And it's up here at the very top. And you wake up in the morning and let's say your alarm is, your alarm didn't go off. So now you're stressed because you're 5 minutes late getting up and getting dressed for work. Yeah. So your stress level peaks and the coffee machine is broken or there's no milk and your stress level peaks. And if you haven't had enough sleep, that stress meltdown line drops. Your ability to just manage all the day-to-day stressors that you really do cope with really quite well any other day. But like you said, if you haven't slept, your fuse.
Yeah.
I feel like...
And if people see you in that moment, okay, well, is that somebody who's just momentarily lost their shit? Yeah. And it's perfectly explicable. It's completely within the normal human range. And at what point is that something that is clinical?
Little side note for those people that are listening via the podcast and not watching via YouTube, you will have missed Jamie doing the best mime for a fuse I've ever seen in my entire life. The fuse was wiggly, the line was up here, and it was getting close. And even I was like, well, this is tense. This is great.
I am known for having very flappy hands, especially when I get excited.
You're a superb gesticulator.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. But yeah, I think it's interesting, just for me personally, I think it's just really easy for them to go, well, this guy, because look, if you say cold and calculated and stuff like that, I don't think that sells as many papers as crazy madman could do anything at any time.
Yeah, so there's definitely some issues of good narrative because, let's face it, they're journalists. They're trying to sell you a story, particularly in this modern 24-hour news cycle situation. Yeah. How do they keep you hooked? They literally are showing you a reality show. It's just reality.
Well, yeah, and here's the thing, right, is if I hear someone's cold and calculated, I go, ooh, well, they won't make any sudden moves, I can stop watching for a week. Whereas if they go, hey, look, this guy's unhinged, I go, well, fuck, I better check in on this every 5 minutes because anything can happen at any time.
Well, there's a whole theory about impression formation related to that. So there's this...
I love it when I stumble across something that's a thing. I'm like,
I know, I get fluffy. It's the configuration model of impression formation. So according to this theory, that there are certain central traits and there are peripheral traits. So there was actually a study done. God, every time there's a study that was done where it was he presented a list of attributes, and one of those attributes was cold or warm, and the other things were like industrious, intelligent, hardworking, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And when participants were then asked, like, on this bipolar scale of like super generous to not at all generous, where do you rate that person? You could see that there was a difference between whether somebody was described as cold or warm versus polite or blunt. Because being cold and warm gives a lot more like predictive value that you know, like if you ask, Jamie, can you do this favor for me? Polite or blunt, I might say, oh no, I'm really sorry, I can't do that right now. Or I might say, no.
Fuck off.
It doesn't actually predict whether or not I'll say yes or no.
Oh, okay.
But warm and cold.
Yeah.
You say, Jamie, can you do this favor? And I'm warm. I might say, oh yeah, sure, I'll help you out. Cold, I'll go, no. There's more predictive value to certain central traits. Yeah. Now there are issues with this model, but we'll get to this.
I can't think of the last time that a person did me a favor in a cold way. Like it just doesn't seem to register in my brain. I'm sure that there has been times, but in my head, I've never known anyone go, yeah, all right then. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It just doesn't seem to compute.
But they might do it in a blunt way of, here you go.
Oh, okay.
Like, can you lend me £5?
Yeah. But I think even when I do that, I just naturally attribute that as being a warm thing to do. Like it doesn't matter how you do. I reckon if I needed a £5 and someone lent me a £5, I think that they could throw it at me and I'd be like, oh, nice one. Thanks.
I mean, that is one of the criticisms of the configuration model is like, what is a central trait? Yeah. Warm and cold, we can kind of easily go like, sure, that's a central trait. Yeah. Some people are warmer than others.
Yeah.
But can we think of other central traits that might exist, or is that the only central trait that might exist that will influence our perception of people? I don't know.
I'm trying to think of other like...
it just makes me think that kind of falls under the general umbrella of how weird and difficult psychology is in general.
Yes.
Like a lot of stuff that seems really intuitive is very hard to then kind of quantify and then figure out how to measure it or manipulate it. Yeah. Or like psychology is just, it's a weird science. It's a difficult science.
It really is. Yeah. I teach first year social psychology, introduction to social. And I gave last week a lecture on aggression. And that sounds like an easy topic, but actually what is aggression is really hard to quantify and understand, because if somebody were to scream at their laptop, is that aggression, or does it have to be towards a living thing? That's like one person's definition of aggression is that it has to be a living creature who's motivated to avoid harm, and it has to be like.
Do you know by any chance? Do you know what FIFA aggression is?
No.
Oh, you're gonna love this. So there is a thing, right? And you can, if you Google FIFA aggression or FIFA meltdown or anything like that, you will see it. It is always young men, always young men aged between, I would say, early teens and probably early 20s. So sort of like probably in the throes of puberty or just at the end of it, right? And what it is they're playing the football game FIFA, and they lose or they concede a goal, and they have a sudden influx of rage.
Oh, rage quitting.
And it, yeah, okay.
I know rage quitting.
And they smash their controller to bits, and they fucking throw things at the TV, and they just lose their fucking minds for 2 minutes. Now, it's funny, I used to play FIFA, and I've smashed a couple of controllers, and I wouldn't say, number one, that I was particularly competitive, or number two, that I was a particularly aggressive person. And yet, for some reason, you just go, fuck! You just smash.
There's this other really weird thing. There's cute aggression as well, which is...
Oh, it's so cute!
You've mentioned this before.
Yeah. Like, sometimes when, like, if I see a really cute dog, I'll end up with, like, fingernail prints in my paw, because I'll just, like...
Maybe that's what Putin's doing with Zelenskyy. He's just like...
He's so cute!
I just want to
have him.
Want to smush your face in the Donbass region. Smush, smush. Maybe that's it.
Okay. Oh, that's a terrible thought, Jamie. You shouldn't say this out loud. But
God, I wish I had that filter. Go on.
Well, no, because I've seen the video, and Kat, you've seen it as well because you shared it with me, of him doing this really kind of amazing.
Is it the dance?
It is the dance.
I love how
the dance.
you've low key dropped Kat in it. So you've gone, this is a terrible thing, and Kat shared it with me.
Hold on.
next?
Because can you explain the video, please?
Oh.
Because I'm struggling.
So it's him and several other men, and it's shot in black and white. It's a music video. It's similar vein to Beyonce's Single Ladies.
I
like
see.
the leather pants, like
Leotardy type.
and a shiny bolero. So like the midsections are completely.
I see.
Yeah,
thing.
and they're wearing high heel stiletto shoes. It's for us, the frame of reference would be Beyonce's Single Ladies.
Yeah.
But apparently that is a parody video of a boy band in the Ukraine. At least that's what my further reading led me to believe.
Okay.
But it definitely is kind of a pro LGBTQIA plus message.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Whereas Russia comes along with its very anti-LGBTQIA plus message.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering where that comes from. Is Putin maybe experiencing? I don't know. Maybe he just wants them.
We're not allowed to speculate.
We're not allowed to speculate.
Literally 15 minutes ago, it was Little Miss Ethical over here, and now she's like, maybe Putin's gay for Zelenskyy.
So basically, this is really bad internalized homophobia that's turned into a fucking genocide. Yeah. We all get the horn pretty bad sometimes.
And it's weird because the more he attacks Ukraine, the more attractive Zelenskyy becomes. And now he's little god stuck in a loop cycle.
I must have him for myself.
Oh my god. It is a crazy phenomenon. I wonder if this has been the case like throughout history. So I wonder when like Genghis Khan was doing his thing or whatever. They were like...
Everyone was well into him.
he shagged
there's
everybody.
genetic evidence that...
He
was well into everyone as opposed to everyone well into him.
He shagged everybody, didn't he? But I wonder if there was some people in Mongolian villages that were like, I've heard good things. Do you know what I mean? Like,
my understanding is that, actually, like, people were... He's like, you join my empire, you pay taxes, I protect you. And they're like, we're in.
Yeah. I think I know, like, everyone, like, had it for Alexander the Great. Like, there's even stuff written about how, like, fucking delicious he smelt.
He is
like,
great. He's just great.
People
like,
were just way into him. You know?
really?
The fact that he was the great. You know who he is. How many Alexanders have there been? Yep, there's only been one. That's great.
Yeah.
Did people, and this is going to be even I'm fucking doing the Jamie Benjamin fucking disclaimer here. Did people have the hots for Hitler?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
That was a thing.
Yeah. So...
Because Hitler's...
It's a question of whether, like, I don't know. This could just be a myth.
Okay.
But there was certainly stories.
I thought you were going to say, but carrots.
So, I'm not a historian. I don't know a lot about this. So this could be a complete myth. I could be completely I could be talking completely out of my arse here. But there are certainly stories of when Hitler was having rallies, women just having orgasms listening to him speak.
No.
That
just
is
coming in
definitely
their
propaganda.
pants.
I think
Like,
that has to be propaganda, but still probably based on some element
of like...
Yeah, because I think like the Beatles and Michael Jackson similarly had like planted women who would faint intentionally to like up the hype and
Okay.
But again, like that's
completely different magnitude. But I went to download the year that Aerosmith were headlining, like a few years ago.
I went to download the year Aerosmith were headlining.
How? Right. So, do you remember?
I was performing. I was at the comedy tent.
Well, do you remember? Did you see Aerosmith?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So, Steven Tyler, at the time, about 62.
Yeah.
During Back in the Saddle, and he's there in like fucking snakeskin flared pants, a fucking wife beater vest, a long ass sparkly jacket, and a frigging cowboy hat, singing Back in the Saddle, using his microphone stick as like a pogo stick.
Yeah.
And I'm like, everything about that screams, that sounds terrible, but I'm still like, fucking hell, that's the sexiest thing I've ever seen. During Living on the Edge, there was a moment where he looked directly down the camera, and I spotted it on the big screen, and I felt something in my pants. It was the female equivalent of a twitch. Like,
Do you know, this has given me a great idea.
Oh no.
For my next gig.
Oh no.
Just to pay one woman when I come on stage, just proper When Harry Met Sally it. Do you know what I mean? Just me do my first joke and she just sort of melts and I'm like, guys, what can I say? I'm so funny I cause orgasms.
Work.
But so I think
No.
I think you're
Social
right.
contagion
I think it's like, I think you're probably right. That is probably propaganda.
Yeah.
But also, it's not outside the realms of possibility.
No, but
I
like,
think.
so to
Like,
have one, like social contagion, right? So you
Yeah.
put one person there who's laughing,
yeah.
and then
So-
everybody
Yeah.
else will start laughing
So
along
are you
with
suggesting that I put one person in that has an orgasm and it slowly builds to the entire crowd and everybody's
them.
just...
I wouldn't start with the orgasm. I'd probably start with her, like, enjoying it.
This is a good role for
usually-
life in general.
I mean, I'd like to think I wouldn't have to pay someone to enjoy the show.
But, no, there's a reason, like, why do sitcoms use laugh tracks? It's because if you hear somebody laughing at whatever's going on in the sitcom, you're more likely to enjoy it as well, because
Yeah,
that'll
it's-
trigger you to, like, this is the cue, you
So-
should be laughing as well.
Also, it's because like laughter is a social thing. It's a social signaling thing.
I follow a guy who is a screenwriter in LA and follow him on TikTok, and he has done screenwriting for most of the big shows out there. And he was doing a show and he was running it by the network, and they were like, we love it, we absolutely love it, but we need to put a laugh track in. How would you no, they said, how would you feel about us putting a laugh track in? And he was like, look, I have done enough of these shows that when I hear how would you feel, it means this is absolutely happening and you've got no. And he was like, no, absolutely not. It cheapens it. No. Let them, because, I mean, he feels, and I feel the same, that the thing about laugh tracks is that by telling an audience when you are supposed to laugh, it cheapens the whole fucking thing. Do you know what I mean? It'd be like if you went to a museum and you saw painting and they'd put big arrows to what you were supposed to appreciate within the painting and stuff. It just ruins it. So he said, no, absolutely not. And they said, well, what we'll do is we'll run it by a couple of focus groups. We'll do one focus group with a laugh track, one focus group without a laugh track. And they played the focus group with the laugh track, and they were like, we loved it. We were fun. And I don't know if you know about focus groups, but they give them little... dials, and you dial it all the way to the left if you hate it, and all the way to the right if you love it. And the idea is that these people are trained to be like that, and just sort of while they're watching, so it's immediate feedback really. And they absolutely loved it, and it scored dead high, and it was like, wow, this is going to be a hit. And then they played it without the laugh track to another focus group, and it was like noticeably average, and people were like, it was fine. It's fine. It makes a huge, even though I fucking hate them, it makes a huge difference. And that is, I don't even know why we were talking about this.
Laugh track, social contagion.
Because
okay.
yeah.
And the social aspect of laughter.
So, you know, when you said social contagion, that if one person's doing it, then more people do it, and more people do it.
Yeah.
Is that, could we link that back to Zelenskyy then? And the one person that go, like, maybe you haven't looked at him and gone, he's hot, or maybe a small percentage of women go, he's hot, but then you mention it to your mate and you go, he's fucking hot, him. And then you go, oh yeah, he is. And then that happens, and then that's maybe also a way of it spreading, or does that not work like that?
Yeah, it kind of does.
Yeah,
Like, there is a
women
consensus
are
level.
quite good, or women tend to. So there's been those experiments where if you have a bloke who is like, you portray them as being really popular with women, obviously this is all very like cis heterocentric kind of studies because
Reasons.
Yeah.
I mean, there are reasons, but that's another issue.
there's like data is
Anyway.
completely different conversation. Anyway,
We'll talk later.
But yeah, if you portray a man as being like really popular with the ladies, other women will show more interest.
Like the wedding band effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas if the same guy is portrayed as not popular, the women will rate him as less attractive. It works on women, but but not as strongly on men.
This is why I love doing podcasts with you two, is because you are immediately like, oh, studies and things that have happened.
The Rolodex.
And in my head, I go, oh, it's like American Pie, where he pays that woman to say that he was great in bed. And then all the women are like, hey, fucking whatever his name is. And then it's just that, isn't it?
There was a study that was done where
I'm gonna get a little Jamie Benjamin doll, and you pull the back string, and it goes, there was a study that was done. Go on. There was a study that was done.
You work really well as a doll as well.
thank you.
Because you're already ditchy.
Why does it always come back to like, and then the small voice happens?
If they ever made like a robot Alexa that was like, you know, like you asked it questions, but it was a robot rather than a little disc, I'd want it to look and sound exactly like you. I just feel like
I feel that is really creepy.
Well, yeah, I mean, so you're trying to subjugate her because she's a Jewish woman.
Oh,
right? Okay,
God.
great.
Oh, God, I just wanted it to be a compliment. Oh, God.
Get a better haircut then. Oh, shit, I think I just fucked something up there.
What did you just fuck up?
Did you just break the entire podcast? We have to redo all of this all over
moved
again.
my
We can't
foot.
capture this magic.
And I think my foot was on the rug, and so I think I've moved the position of the camera.
Right. Well, let's call it really quickly then, and then we'll do the extra. Is there anything you both want to plug?
Google Merseyside Skeptic Society, and also Google Skeptics in the Pub online. There's loads of very interesting content about science, reason, and critical thinking. So yeah.
Anything you want to plug, Jamie?
I probably want to plug in my phone to see if it's charging.
Yes. And also, we're going to go and record Picketed Extra now. Thank you for listening. We will see you next week. Bye-bye.
This podcast has been sponsored by Outlier Distillery. They are the makers of the fantastic Hooley Manx White Rum, which is available right now on the Outlier Distillery website for just 34 quid. And there's an extra discount code for everyone that listens to this podcast. Just enter Pigoted at checkout and you get yourself 20% off. Now, this was a company that was actually started in lockdown, and they make some fantastic drinks. I am a huge fan of this Hooley Manx White Rum. As you can see, I've drunk nearly most of it already. It's a really strong flavour, and it goes great in cocktails and daiquiris and rum and cokes. So if you are a big drinker, if you're a fan of alcohol and you like white rum, then get yourself down to Outlier Distillery's website and get your code 20% off by entering Pigoted at checkout. This episode of Pigoted Podcast was sponsored by Taylor's Toys. Now, for OG listeners of the show, you'll know Taylor's Toys. They've been sponsoring us since the beginning. They are a sex toy company that specialise in making high quality produce, like you grow it. You know, they make good products that don't fall apart after a couple of uses, but they're at decent, reasonable prices as well. You can head over to taylorstoys.co.uk right now, check out the amazing range that they've got on offer, and if you enter the discount code PIGOTED at checkout, you get 20% off and you get free delivery on orders over £25. It is a fantastic thing to do, especially with Valentine's Day just round the corner. Head yourself over to taylorstoys.co.uk and spice some things up in the bedroom.